All right.
Welcome.
Test. Check.
Checking,
We gotta do
checking.
so many checks here because today we're talking about how to deal with setbacks. And the reason we're talking about that is because I completely failed on the last episode. We recorded a beautiful 45-minute podcast.
Such a fantastic conversation.
Which, maybe it's uploaded. If it is, then that's cool. The audio will be terrible. But I forgot to turn these microphones on. So it was just the camera audio with the camera like 5 meters away. And there was just a ton of ambient noise. So,
like, if we didn't have these mics right now, you would just be hearing nothing but ocean waves. It would be like that.
Yeah, so we're currently at Dominical Beach in Costa Rica with this beautiful background, this beautiful surfboard. We only have one surfboard between the two of us because today someone decided to break their board.
The ocean.
And that someone is me. It was my board. This is the board Jackson had. So I've had to deal with some rental situations because it was a rental board and
a setback.
It completely snapped in half. That's another setback.
A setback.
So actually there's been multiple setbacks this trip. So my laptop crashed on me for the second time this year at the beginning of the trip. Setback. I haven't been able to edit anything. That's not as big of a deal, I guess, because it can be fixed and repaired.
Yeah. But it's still a setback.
It's still a setback. Yesterday, the same rental board, my rental board that I had, the leash snapped, the skeg came off, one of Jackson's skegs also came off. So I've been in the mood of breaking things for some reason. Well, not me breaking things, but things breaking for me. And Jackson's been in the mode of losing things.
I've been losing things the whole trip. I lost 2 pairs of shoes on this trip. I lost my slackline. I lost my hammock. What else did I lose?
A lot. Your SD card.
I lost my. I lost my SD card. I don't want to talk about it. I feel like I lost one other thing too. You lost your water bottle
yesterday, but you found it again.
Yeah, I did find my hammock and I did find my water bottle. I lost my water bottle yesterday. That was the other thing. And found both of those, thankfully. The water especially is an absolute must here. You just sweat everything out.
Yeah.
So
you've also lost your mind a bit.
Lost my mind. I've been losing that one for a while though. Dealing with setbacks and things that have been coming up and different experiences that have been, oh wow, that really does like shoot me in the foot in a way, and now I don't know how to operate in this or that, or do the way and act the way I would like to be acting fully, because all of a sudden I don't have my gear, or I don't have my relaxation, or able to go play with my slackline, you know.
Yeah, so obviously setbacks and failure is a major part of the creative journey, of the business, financial journey, just life. It's a major thing.
Part of the human experience,
it's a thing we face in life all the time. So we just wanted to drop in and talk about how to deal with setbacks, how we personally have dealt with all of it, and not that we want to like be life gurus here, but I guess just sharing our experience.
I was just gonna mope and whine, but no, I think it's an important conversation to have. It's a huge part of the creative journey. It's again like it's part of life,
especially the intentional creative journey.
And especially
you want to like rise above that setback,
and use that setback as a way to alchemize and use that setback as a way to propel yourself forward and find a way to move through it with grace and with understanding that those things happen, and that it's part of the process. And so I think for me, I have definitely learned, the ocean's a great speaking point on this. Setbacks are like water in my mind. It's coming in and it's here to teach me a lesson. It's something that's coming up that I need to remind myself of. Like for me, I'm constantly working with my memory, so to remember things, to be more intentional by using my mind to put my thing down. Don't get caught up in the flow, don't get caught up in your whatever. Go back and grab it, go back and make sure it's put in the spot that's going to be stable and grounded. So I'm constantly trying to use setbacks as an opportunity to deepen my relationship with myself and deepen my relationship with the creative process that I'm in, or the life experience that I'm in, or the relationship that I'm in, and use it to continue to ground into the experience and continue to become a rock in the ocean waves as they come in and out, but stay grounded and stay solid as the setbacks come.
Yeah, I think it's also important to remember that we tend to look at setbacks and failure as a negative thing in life.
Yep.
There's a lot of stigma around it, and you don't want to fail. You
Right.
don't want to have setbacks because it feels bad when we set expectations and we don't meet those expectations.
Yeah.
Whether we feel like we're letting down other people, or more importantly, we're letting down ourselves. And so I think one of the first steps to rising above a setback is to recognize that these constructs only exist in our mind.
Yeah.
That us relating a setback or a failure to something as being bad is a story that we're making up in our mind. It's a story
Yeah.
that society makes up. And if you look at nature, like good and bad don't exist. Is a lion bad for chasing down
Right.
a deer?
Right.
No, like nothing, there is no good and bad in the natural world, and we're a part of that. So the concepts of good and bad only exist in our minds, only exist in stories, and is continually perpetuated by our society, by the movies we watch, by the religions that are around the world, is dividing this idea of good and bad.
Yeah.
But again,
And making it bad.
Yeah.
There's this story that we make it bad, we make it wrong, we make it something that we don't want to happen to us. This really is
Yeah.
screwing me over in my process right now.
and so you want to try and subconsciously, you're trying to avoid that bad
Right.
feeling. But as soon as you recognize that bad doesn't exist, then it's like, oh, okay, well, actually, I can. Maybe a setback or a failure is something I can strive for. It allows me to play
Yeah.
and experiment
Right.
and feel into all sorts of different creative avenues. And if it doesn't work out, we don't have to see it as bad. We can be like, oh, cool, that didn't work out.
Yep.
So that's pushing me more towards the thing that I want to do.
It's almost pushing you more towards your why. It's pushing you deeper into
Yeah.
your why. It's helping you see your why in a more clear way. Like the setback is allowing you to become more aware and more open to, because I've noticed in my life, whenever things consistently haven't gone the right way, it's like the universe or whatever is trying to just tell me like, hey, this isn't actually for you. This isn't actually what you want to be doing. This isn't actually where you want to be putting your energy and giving your energy output to.
Yeah. Well, that's like in one of the previous episodes we spoke about. I started a crypto financial TikTok because that was what was trendy
Right.
back in the crypto boom of, when was it, 2021? Somewhere there,
Right now.
21.
Buy
the big one.
Bitcoin. Yeah, the big one. It was back in 2021 when there was a big boost.
And so I started a TikTok for cryptocurrencies and I actually started a YouTube channel as well and
Right.
made a couple of videos on there because that was the next big thing and I wanted to be a part of it. And it failed, quote unquote, because the videos didn't get any views, nothing came of it, I didn't feel passionate about it, and it just kind of fizzled out and died. And so I could look at that as a failure, or I could look at that and be like, oh, that's the universe being like, actually, no, we're not going to make this work out for you because this doesn't align with your intention. This doesn't align with why you're here on this planet to produce the work that you produce.
Yeah.
And so me going in that direction and trying that out is not a bad thing. I'm happy that I did it because the universe was just like, hey, get back into line.
Yeah.
Like, that's not for you. Stay here. Stay focused on what you actually are here to do.
And actually want to do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like for me, when we first met back in Cape Town, I had an Instagram account. I was taking photos. I was doing really well. I had like nearly 10,000 followers and eventually got to 10,000 followers. And I was, really making moves and making a splash and connecting with the right businesses and the right people and all these sorts of things. And then through a series of events, my Instagram got hacked and I lost that account. And all of a sudden I was back to square one.
About that.
And it's such that was a huge setback, something I'm still kind of navigating and coming out of and like
You
working.
spend so long building something for it to get torn
I had
away from you.
I think nearly 700 posts on there and it was really beautiful accounts, and I started when I was like 15 or so, and so there's so many different layers of that setback, business wise, personally, like emotionally, just like there's huge amounts of setbacks in that, and it's taken me a while to come to terms with it. It's taken me a while to accept that in myself, and obviously there's small setbacks, there's big setbacks, and again, it's about building that relationship with how to deal with the emotional process of when setbacks happen. And so, now I really see that setback as a reorientation, just like we're saying. Like, it was a reorientation because I wasn't actually in alignment with who I was, what I was. I didn't know myself. I didn't know what I was wanting to say. I didn't know how I was wanting to create and produce. And now I've gone through this experience of the past 4 years. Like, I lost that Instagram account, I think 5 years ago, something like that. And after the past 4 years, I've really been able to get clear on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, what I want to say, how I want to show up. My why is all of a sudden my rock. There's nothing that it can move that. The relationships can't move that. Girls can't move that.
Algorithms.
What?
Algorithms can't move
Algorithms can't move it, and even it feels as if even now, even if it gets to a point where it's back to 10K or back to further than that even that is going to be a lot weaker of a pull in my system creatively to do things and to say things and to be things that I'm not, because I have this grounded why that's locked into who I am. So,
and now
again,
you're building back up with a really strong,
purpose,
solid foundation.
Purpose and why, and now it's coming from a place of groundedness. But then the other thing too about it is just the fact that it's so cool that and I honestly see it as a blessing in a lot of ways. My Instagram account right now has I just hit 1,100 followers. And it's funny because, people will see that I'm a photographer and then go follow me and they're like, oh, you don't have 30K. Yeah. You don't have all these followers. But I know in my heart, I know what value I bring. I know what I add to the space. I know what kind of skill level I've got. I know what kind of energy that I can bring to the space. And I kind of just smile. I kind of just chuckle to myself of oh, right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I only have 1,100 followers internally, because I know in my heart and in my why that there's a really grounded creator and a really grounded creative presence in my system that is grounded through the setbacks that I've gone through and through the different things that have happened in my life that have pulled me back to a place where I thought, I don't want to be here. I'm so angry, frustrated, lost. But really it's been a catapult forward into more authenticity, more truth, more clarity around what I want to bring to the table.
What would you say that's your biggest creative setback you've had? Oh, actually, you should speak about your accident.
Yeah.
That's a big
what I was
life
thinking.
Setback and creative. Oh, well, you should give some context to that.
I think
we haven't spoken about that in the podcast.
I think creatively the Instagram is probably the biggest one, though.
Bigger than you almost dying?
Well, so yeah, when I was 17...
tell that story.
So when I was 17, I was with a friend of mine. Shout out at Mitchell Mullins. Go follow his stuff. He's out in LA. He's killing it. I was with a buddy of mine, and we were in LA doing some film stuff, and we had just gone out there to see some friends and just were hanging out. And we were driving my family's 15-passenger van. We're 17 at the time. I was 17. I think he was 17. I think he's the same age as me. And we were driving back to Tennessee, and then we were going to go see my family in Greece, who was doing missionary work over there with my dad. He was over there. And so we were going to go out there and see them and hang out and just have a good time. And on the drive back from LA to Nashville, we were right outside of Denver on I-70, and the tires popped in the van. And Mitchell was in the bed in the back, and I was driving sober. It was 8 a.m., and I wasn't in any sort of that stuff at the time. And we flipped 6 times, going 85 miles an hour, and I basically died. I was in rehab. I was in the ICU for 2.5 weeks, and they were like, he's gonna die for 3 days. They were like, he's not gonna make it. I broke my back. I broke my arm in 3 places. I broke this hand in all of it feels like, but I don't know how they rebuilt it. A lot of different places. 2 fingers were snapped, and then the whole internal hand structure was shattered. I broke 6 ribs, and then suffered a really bad traumatic brain injury. We think my camera hit my head, which is the funniest thing ever.
That is kind of funny. Ironic.
So yeah, I was in ICU for 2.5 weeks, and then rehab for about 1.5 years after that. And then there's still a lot of TBI stuff that I kind of keep an eye on. I guess maybe not a lot, but there's a lot. Some people maybe would argue otherwise. There's still TBI stuff that I keep an eye on. But yeah, I mean, that was that's just life setback.
Yeah.
Like everything about that is just.
But I mean, it's amazing that
all
you
of it.
are back to the point you are now, where you're surfing in Costa Rica and running around festivals, and like you're living a normal life
crazy.
again. But I guess even in terms of the creativity, you were taking photos and making videos before that happened.
Yeah. And it was a setback. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
like
you weren't able to create for 2 years.
Yeah, and it's like it's about. I think a lot of creativity is about momentum.
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily momentum on the brand or on the algorithm, but momentum in yourself, momentum in your creative process, momentum in who you are, and momentum in how you're showing up. So yeah, like I was 17 and I had really good momentum going, and then all of a sudden, that momentum just like stopped, over.
Yeah.
You're in rehab with like grandparents, working through their muscle systems or whatever, and having to give my energy to that. And so, I think the biggest thing that that's been obviously a long journey, and I still navigate why and what happened and why that happened, but I definitely see it as a blessing. I see it as something that happened to me that was very eye-opening. It helped me really engage with my truth in a lot of ways. It opened my eyes in a lot of ways. It didn't happen immediately. It's happened over the 6 years that it's been since then.
Yeah, how did your creativity or your outlook on creativity, and I guess life, but let's maybe focus more on the creative aspect of it. How did that change after the accident?
Well, I think it's funny. I think it was in tandem with me losing my brand in a lot of ways, because even after the accident.
When did your Instagram account get hacked in that relation?
That was 2 years later when that happened. So that was after I met you.
So that was kind of when you were starting again, and then it got hacked. Like, you had just like got back into your momentum.
Well, no. So what happened was that a year and a half after I wrecked, I was needing to go travel. I wanted to go and be creative. Mitchell and I had been having conversations and yada 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 and all this stuff, and we were like, we need to get back on the road. We need to go back out there. I'd healed really well, so I was feeling better. And I was feeling young. I had a lot of energy, and I was wanting to go.
Yeah.
And so I'd started to shoot again. I'd started to shoot in Nashville a little bit again, and then eventually Mitchell and I ended up planning this trip that we went. We were overseas for like 9 months. I went to all sorts of different creative places. I went to Morocco, South Africa, where I met you. I went to Bali. I went to Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii for a few months. And that's a story for a different podcast, but that was definitely a huge catalyst for how my creativity changed. I was in Switzerland, Greece, just traveled all over, went to all these different countries and was with all these different photographers on that trip and all these different people on that trip. And I think my creativity obviously changed and evolved on that trip a lot. I did a lot of street photography. I did a lot of street photography. That's my favorite form of photography.
Yeah.
Did a lot of modeling.
Consciously have the mindset shift and like what you wanted to capture?
But that wasn't until I lost my brand. That was until after I'd been back in Nashville after that trip for a year or so, and I really was beginning to resent Instagram. I was really starting to hate it because again, when I was on that trip overseas, it was fun and I was developing my skill, but I wasn't developing my intentionality. That's debatable. There was a lot of beautiful things happening on that trip, but at the end of the day, I know I wasn't developing them. I didn't have these thoughts in my head, right? I was just excited. I was just excited to travel. I was excited to meet you. I was excited to meet other folks that we met, all that sort of thing. And so then after that, I came back and was in Nashville for a year and a half or 2 years, whatever it was. And that was when my Instagram got hacked. I'd really started to burn out in my photography. I was really starting to resent it. I was like, this is not fun. I don't enjoy this. I'm not having a good time. I feel like I'm having to work and do all this corporate stuff. I was really confused. I was super confused. I was like, I had a lot of followers and I was making a lot of money and was doing a lot of cool stuff, but I wasn't not enjoying it. I was kind of hating it, and I was like getting snappy with people. I was getting snappy on set and snappy with friends and snappy with partners and family and all that sort of stuff. And then that's when my Instagram got hacked. And I think it was a conglomeration of the wreck and then that happening where I lost my sense of ego identity, especially after the Instagram went, because that was a huge part of my identity. And I had to really, whoa, she's got a waterproof camera. Sorry, I got distracted. Yeah. After like kind of losing that identity point for myself, I didn't really have anything else to stand in. I was only a photographer. I didn't have any other skills. I'd never worked any other jobs. I'd always done photography. And I kind of felt myself like stranded. I was like, wow, I don't actually know how to do anything other than this, and I don't really know what to do about that. And that was when these ideas really started to churn and really started to come alive. And because I had to go into the restaurant world, and I was working in really hard environments, in the sense of like the restaurant world is just mad respect to anybody who's in it, because it's you know, it's a beautiful environment, it's a lot of fun, but it's hard, and you really have to give a lot of your creative energy to something that's, you know, not yours, and you're just like outputting all the time for this business that's not yours for the most part.
And you even decided to sell your camera at one point.
Yeah,
right?
I sold my camera
When
right
was
when my
that?
Instagram.
When was that?
Right when my Instagram got hacked, I sold my camera as well. I'd also really been creating this content. I'd been creating these films and this content that was feeling really beautiful to me, and I was creating these personal kind of films that were recapping these trips that I'd been on, and those have always been intentional. Those have always come from a heart space. Those have always come from a place of like just enjoying what I'm doing and what I'm getting up to with my friends, and capturing the moments of like play with the people that I love and people that I create with. And so those have always been intentional, but I was kind of traveling down that track and doing these films, and was really enjoying that. And during that Instagram getting hacked and then selling my camera, I had kind of like internally let go of needing to have followers or any sort of that stuff. I was like, I'm just gonna roll with this way of creation that happens through me.
Your identity also wasn't captured in
it
social
wasn't
media
attached to it
anymore, because you
anymore.
couldn't. It was gone. It was ripped away from you.
Right. And so I really could just like, it was really a reset in a lot of ways, and I really reset into like, I'm gonna create for me. I'm gonna create how I like to create. I'm not gonna create for an algorithm. I'm not gonna create for reels. And then since then, it's really been honing that and figuring out what that means. What does that look like? I do still want to do it as a business. I love to travel. I love to go overseas. I love to photograph. I love to do street photography. I love to do stuff like we did this weekend. So navigating and trying to figure out how it shows up. How does this unique form of creativity show up in brand? And like, that's definitely a different podcast, because that's definitely something that I'm still navigating. And everybody still navigates. How do you show up in authenticity with your brand and with your creation, but also stay true to who you are? But yeah, that setback was really a beautiful catalyst for me to navigate and get clear on this conversation. And I think both of those setbacks, both of those big life points for me, are the reason this podcast is alive in me. You know, that's the reason why this conversation is alive in me, because I've really gotten to be able to have like a really insider look as to like, wow, this is what it feels like when you make it. Wow, this is what it feels like when you don't have it and when you've kind of lost it.
Yeah.
And then being able to reflect, like when I was in the restaurant world, you know, I was able to reflect a lot as to like why I was creating, how I was creating, what was going on when I was creating, you know, and I could really see, I was like, wow, there's a lot of inauthenticity. I was really just like using that hashtag or using that @ or using that connection point because I wanted to grow. And so I've really been able to recognize and self-analyze the lack of intentionality. And so that's really been able to help me see how Instagram and how the broader form of social media is, it really is a labyrinth of an identity, because you get so lost in the portrayal of who you think you are and who you are. You know, there were elements of me that for sure were real in how I was creating and how I was producing, but it wasn't grounded in anything. It wasn't actually grounded, and I feel that for a lot of social media accounts, I feel that for a lot of social media in general, there's not anything grounded in it. There's not anything grounded through it. And so,
what do you mean by grounded? Just explain that a little bit.
You're doing it for clout. You're not doing it because that's who you are. You're not doing it because that's coming from a place of wanting to tell a bigger story. Grounded maybe because there's something behind the story you're telling that motivates you. You know, you're doing it because you want to get fame, you want to get attention, you want to get followers, you want to get girls, you want to get guys. Like, those are all motivating factors in a big way for most of social media. And
most of life.
For most of life.
That's why almost everyone does anything.
And that's why,
mostly.
you know, it's you know, it bleeds into social media.
Yeah.
And so grounded in the sense of like, what is something beyond you? And that's really something that I've really come to terms with through this journey of like, wow, I don't want to be attached to something for me, about me. I don't want to talk about me. I mean, I do talk about me all the time, but it's like,
it's not about you.
It's not about me in the sense of now how I express it and how I think about it.
You're just a vessel for the story, for the
right,
idea.
Yeah, exactly. We were just at a festival, Envision Festival in Costa Rica, and it was so fun to capture the festival scene, and I wasn't capturing it for me. I was capturing it because I was like, this is such a beautiful space, no matter how many problems and how many issues I'm sure that it has and whatever. It's a beautiful space to see people coming in together in resonance of love, coming in together in resonance of play, coming in together in resonance of connection. Those are sorely valued. They're so needed in today's timeline and in today's period of history where there's constant bickering and fighting and through all these countries, and we need to tap into those higher resonances of love, connection, compassion, and it's about doing that inner work, that emotional work. And so it was so beautiful to be there in that space and able to capture those moments and capture something that was beyond me, right? They're my photos, but it's not my story. It's not something I'm telling, and it's not something I'm saying. It's something that I am a part of, and I'm in, and I am doing in my own life that I see value in, and I see resonance in, and I see the need of. And I feel like that's where we're both at in a lot of our stories of, like, you know, your relationship with the trees and your relationship with nature, and recognizing how important it is for us to come back into connection with nature, and how to use our creativity to tell those stories that aren't necessarily involved with me, Dean, and, you know, me and my personal brand and my little slogan and my little, you know, subscribe button. Mm-hmm. It's something bigger than that. And you can take it or leave it in the sense of how you see it, but it's just kind of coming out of me. What have been some of your, like, creative setbacks in life? And then I also feel like it would be cool to chat about, and I guess maybe this is a different podcast, but maybe your setback with your relationship with soccer.
Oh,
and like how that kind of plays into your creative journey, because I feel like that's very, like, part of where you're.
And I only told you that whole story recently as well.
I know, yeah, it was cool to hear.
Yeah, that might be a bigger conversation. I mean, that definitely falls into the setback aspect of it. But yeah, I guess long story short on that story is that I was pretty much on the verge of becoming a professional soccer player, and I had to choose between becoming a professional footballer or choosing the creative life of moving to New York and living there and working with Red Bull and pursuing the social media influencer life. And I ended up choosing moving to New York and doing that whole thing, which has led me to here where I am right now. So I don't regret anything that's happened, but that was a major setback in a way, because my whole life I dreamt of becoming a professional footballer, and that's definitely a huge creative outlet for you. Yeah, that was how I moved my body. That was a big way. I've realized recently that football is spiritual for me. It keeps me in the present moment. It helps connect me with the earth under my feet and people around me. I feel more present than I ever do when I'm playing soccer. And it's one of my biggest passions in my life. So to give that up and let that go, I still play now for fun, but to let go of that idea, that dream of becoming a professional was a very big, difficult decision to make. And I definitely saw it as a setback at the time. And I think this is something I wanted to say to you while you were speaking about yours, is that I think it's easy to see setbacks in retrospect, and see why it happened and the positive effects of that. It's a lot more difficult when you're in the moment, when the things are happening and you're trying to. I think we're good right now. We're good on mojitos. Thank you. What? We're good. Thank you. Bueno. No? Yeah, we're doing a video. Gracias. What video? We're filming a video behind you. Look it. No worries. Thanks, boss. Everyone. See. Maybe after. We're just gonna wrap it up. We're almost done. I know. Yeah. We'll come find you. Everyone wants to come speak to us in Costa Rica while we're doing the podcast. Every single podcast we've had, someone's dropping in. It's interesting because, like, the camera's right there. It's pretty obvious. They just completely ignore the camera, which is fine. I guess we're not in America, so people don't know what. I love it. That we're filming a YouTube video. But setback in the podcast. I think it's easy to see setbacks in retrospect and know why it worked out and see the reasoning behind it, because you're able to see how that decision, that moment, led you to where you are right now.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, it's tough, it's confusing, it's going into the unknown. You can't see the future yet, so you're kind of just scrambling and trying to figure things out. And it's difficult. Like, a setback isn't easy to deal with, and I think that's why we have the association that it's bad, it feels bad, it's negative. And that's why it's important to try and stay present in it and know that, this is kind of esoteric, but like know that it's happening for a reason.
Yeah.
And like, I believe that things happen for a reason, but my more scientific brain believes that in nature, and again, we are part of nature, is that nature holds everything in balance. And so when something is out of balance, nature will realign that. And so that includes us in the decisions we make in life. If something like me starting the financial TikTok, that was out of balance with who I am, and nature was like, yo, let's bring it back into balance.
Yeah.
So I would say it's really important to try and remember that while going through your setbacks. And I try to do that while making my decision for soccer. Again, it led me to America, it led me to New York, it led me to some amazing opportunities and meeting people, and where I am right now in this beautiful place, pursuing the things that I've dreamt about.
Right.
Also for my whole life. So it was just a different path for me, and I don't regret it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's a path of, I feel like, for both of us. I mean, both of our paths are
perfect.
Have the freedom to grow into really strong trees.
Yeah.
Like, in the sense of, like, it's so beautiful that I feel like I've got the freedom now to really grow deep roots into my identity of the why, and into my identity of serving story and serving higher stories. You know, and for you, maybe the ability, the freedom to be free to choose the stories you want to tell and the life that you want to be part of and the experiences that you want to have.
I think I can also speak to my quote-unquote setback of my YouTube channel and my creative success that I had that came out of moving to New York and really going hard into being a YouTuber, into being an influencer and content creator, as much as I hate those words now. But I did it. I did the thing I wanted to do. I got 120K on YouTube. I got the silver plaque. I got AdSense checks in the mail for $800 a month, which was really cool to be making off of YouTube. But I burnt out and it failed and it didn't work out, and my YouTube channel essentially died. To now my YouTube channel is getting like 200-300 views a video, which feels like a failure when you've got 120K. And you've built up that audience. You've taken so much time and effort to invest into your YouTube channel, and then you start posting something else and people aren't watching it. It feels shitty. Like you've really tried your best. So that felt like a big failure for me, in that I let my YouTube channel die. And again, I see it as myself being out of balance with who I was. I was chasing the algorithm, I was chasing the views, and I started to make more and more videos that I didn't want to make because I thought it would be good for the algorithm. And yes, they got views, but it got to a point where I didn't want to make those videos anymore because it didn't feel true to who I was.
Right.
And so I stopped showing up to that relationship. I broke up with my YouTube channel, essentially, and the relationship died. And so now, looking back, I can see that as very important, because if that didn't happen, I would still be... It would feel like work to me. I would hate doing it because it didn't align with the message that I want to put out into this world.
Yeah.
So now, again, looking back, I can see it and be like, oh, I'm actually happy that happened, because now I'm in a place where I have so much passion, I have so much enthusiasm to create the things I'm making, and it's building that momentum, like you said, where I'm like, yeah, let's go do a podcast on the beach right now. Because
even though we've been working for the past 10 days, and
like,
exactly.
We're just here to have a conversation and express these ideas that feel like they have so much purpose and meaning.
Well, I think the setbacks are so great. They deepen your roots. They deepen your roots into what you need. What do you actually need? What do you actually get alive about? What do you actually want to say? What do you actually want to show up as?
I think the setbacks and the most difficult times are the places where we grow the most.
Yeah.
And like using that tree analogy, we had a great conversation earlier today about a tree in terms of creativity, which we'll break down probably in another video.
Yeah.
But
It was nice.
the setbacks help your tree grow the most. That is giant bursts of water and sunshine coming onto your tree, even though it may look like darkness. I guess you can see it as rain. The clouds come over and it rains, and it helps your tree grow.
Right. Yep. And I think that especially nowadays, especially in the climate that we're in, trust it. Trust your setback. Trust the things that are adjusting you. Trust the things that are pushing you into a different direction. Use your instincts. Trust your gut. Trust your intuition. But let the wave push you and move you into where you need to be.
Yeah.
We need that the authentic creator to come online in all of us and to create from a place of not needing anything. I don't need anything from out here. I don't need anything from you. I don't need any clout. I don't need any numbers. I don't need any Ks. You know, the paychecks are nice or whatever. The money's nice, all that sort of stuff. But that'll come when it comes, and that'll come in time. Just like your YouTube channel, just like my Instagram, just like my YouTube channel. Finding your rhythm, finding your flow, finding your current that you can ride is the most valuable thing you can do. And like, because as soon as you are riding that wave, all of a sudden there's nothing in your way anymore. As soon as you're riding the wave of really authentic creation and intentional creation, all of a sudden you don't need anything to. You are generating that wave, and you are creating that wave, and you can really like take that wave where you want to and surf that wave how you need to, and then the things will come. Everything will come. Everything will come through you. Everything will come, and all the things that you need to support yourself in a creative way and in a life-giving way will come to you. It's just a matter of, it's a leap of faith. It's that trust. It's letting go to knowing that it's...
And that's really difficult.
It's really difficult.
That takes practice as
Especially these, exactly.
I don't think that happens overnight. Like, even if you're just watching this podcast for the first time and this is the first time you're hearing of this concept, like, it's difficult. It's not an easy process, but
and we humans have been telling that story for like all of time.
Yeah, every religion is have faith.
Faith,
not necessarily in like a single figure guy in the sky God, but like have faith.
But trust
in yourself
that it's coming. Trust that it's going to be okay. Trust that it's taking you the way you need to, and you have to. I love that. I love the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie where the whole point is that take the leap of faith. Take that leap of faith. Like if you're ever I watch that movie whenever I'm in doubt. If I'm in doubt about something, or if I'm struggling to like jump into something new, or there's fear in my system, I'll go watch that movie because it's so palpable in its emotional
resonance.
Yeah, in the emotional story that it's telling of like, take the leap of faith, trust your instincts, trust your body, allow yourself to trust what you show up as, what you show up with, what you show up in.
Yeah.
And
I think it's all about perspective as well. It's all in your mind. You can everyone is going to fail at something, quote unquote fail. Yeah. But the people that push on and succeed, quote unquote succeed, because that's a concept, are the ones that have a different perspective about failure.
Yeah.
And they see it as a lesson and not a failure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like surfing.
I love all the surfing analogies.
You gotta go out in the waves over and over and over again, and fall off the board, 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 and break the board, and break your fin, and break your da-da-da-da. Not that
hopefully
you're not
break your bones.
Not that you're not a great surfer, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta go through the trial and error of doing something new, because it's not something that you're used to.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful part of the process. And once you're whatever level, once you make it and once you're riding the waves, you'll look back at all that time and be like, wow, I remember the day that I learned how to stand up and carve to the left, and you know what I mean? Like, and how to flick up the board onto the wave. And
well, it's with anything we learn, like even learning a language. I've learned the basics of Spanish being in a Spanish-speaking country, and I can say basic sentences now. Wow, that kid is ripping it. Anyway, sorry.
I know, yeah. There's a lot.
Some amazing surfers.
There's a lot of surfers out here who surf for the waves right now. The sunset.
I know the basics of Spanish now, and I can say basic sentences, but a month ago, I couldn't string two words together, and I had to think about it so hard. But you gotta say the things to get better at saying them and practice, and
failure,
it'll come with the failure. Like, the failures help us grow.
Yeah, failure is so valuable.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing words on failure? I feel like we've been going for like 45 minutes now, so I feel pretty good.
That was so quick. I feel like quick. I feel like we just sat down.
Yeah, sometimes we do these podcasts and it's like dragging on. It's 20 minutes. We're like, oh, are we going to make half an hour or 40 minutes or whatever it is? This has been a good
I really liked the stories in this one. Like, there was really, it was cool to talk about story.
Yeah. Storytelling.
No, I mean, that feels complete to me.
Yeah.
I think especially with social media, I think practically, like, I just want to speak to the fact that, like, just like the waves, you got to put content out that's not going to do well. You got to release content. You got to do things that are not going to do as well as you think. You're going to just pump content out, especially if you're starting. Just create. Don't worry about any of it. Don't worry about trying to grow. Don't worry about trying to get any clout.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I'm not really worried about the algorithm pushing me into all the right fields. I'm just putting content out there because I know I need photos on my photography, because I'm rebuilding my photo page. So I know I need photos out there so that people can scroll through and see my consistency with how I can show up and create.
Yeah.
So, you know, just again, it's work, but you know, it's a mental workout. But get out of your head around trying to make it something, and get into your head about making.
Yeah. Also,
make things, do things, have fun, play.
Also, realize that no one cares.
And that,
like, people do care, but no one cares.
One.
Like,
that's an 8-footer.
Yeah, there's some big swell coming through. Go make stuff and realize that people, they're gonna see it for a second and they're gonna scroll right past it. And if it doesn't resonate, they're gonna forget about it in 5 seconds.
Which is why the why is so important. Yeah. Like, that's the why. You finding your why is so important, because people only care about resonance now.
Yeah.
You can finish what you're saying.
No, that was it. Just people don't care as much as they think you do. They're thinking about their own image.
People don't care until they can feel you.
Yeah.
People do not care until they can feel what you're saying. If they can't feel what you're saying, they don't care. Other than maybe like, oh, that's pretty. Done. Like,
it's gone in 5 seconds, and they forgot about it already. They're on to the next thing.
Like, until you figure out what people want to resonate with and how to resonate with people don't want, like, they don't have any. They're busy about their days. They're busy with their life. They're busy doing their thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, even just using this as an example, we're out here filming a video on the beach. There's probably 500-600 people, maybe even more, on this beach right now. We've had the one guy come and talk to us about selling mojitos. But people are going about their thing, doing their life. Even if you're watching this video right now, we might only have 20 views.
Yeah, you probably skipped ahead through it. You were like bored at some of ours.
Yeah, possibly. And so you just got to create, like, have your why and go.
Yeah. Create and find the why. Have the why.
Yeah.
Create from the why. That's going to give you the $1 million business or whatever you want. That's what's actually going to give it to you, not just because you're doing cool.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I like that. Cool. I'm happy with that.
I feel good too.
I want to go surf. The sun is setting, but also the swell is massive.
The swells are getting big, dude. There was a couple there that were like at least 8 feet.
I know. I'm like max 6 feet. Max. Even that, like, 5 feet is still big. But my goal, one of my intentions for coming to Costa Rica was to film a surf film, like a surf video, and make it like surfing for 3 days in Costa Rica.
You said no.
And the universe was just like, nope, we're not going to do that.
Next trip down here. Dude, we're going to have to come down for a surf trip and just do a surf trip, make a film about it.
There's just been too much going on this trip. Also, the surfboards that we got, none of them had GoPro mounts, and I bought an Insta360 camera so I can mount it on there and like get some cool shots. That didn't happen. Second day, board snapped. So it hasn't worked out, and that's okay. I'm letting go of it. It's been a setback. Yeah, it's been a setback, but I'm letting go and I'm moving on. I'm still gonna make some really cool videos here from Costa Rica, and I have a bunch of plans to go do more adventures this year. So I'm not letting this stop my momentum and my progression and my creativity.
The waves will still be here.
I'm just learning about it, and I'm learning that, okay, maybe it's not as easy as I thought it would be to make a surf film, and maybe I'm better at making hiking films. So
let's go hike.
yeah, take lessons from every setback that you have.
Yeah.
Woo!
Woo!
That was good.
Well, maybe it's like just like not even that you're not, you know, you're not good at it, but it's just like we didn't set it up the right way to come make the right surf. You know, it's like, okay,
well, that's
cool.
the lesson. It's
and that's
like,
the lesson. It's like, got it. Like,
yeah.
I need to be more prepared with this, this, and this instead of that, that, and that, so that I can actually show up in a way and create the things that I want to create. All right.
Cool. Do you have any
closing thoughts?
Anything you got going on this week?
Just getting back into, you know, I'm going back to Denver, back to Boulder, so getting back into a rhythm, getting back into some creativity there. Looking for the right kind of work right now. I've got a lot to edit. Gonna see some friends, gonna see some just friends.
That's a podcast for another time.
So yeah, I'm excited. It'll be chill. Really just integration, rebalancing and making sure my immune system's good.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of bacteria in the air down here, obviously.
It's nice to travel, but it's also,
not obviously, but it
makes you appreciate going home so much more as well.
Clean sheets with no dust in them. No dusty sheets.
A nice shower, a good kitchen, your own space. Yeah.
How about you?
Pretty much same. Excited to edit all the footage from Costa Rica and Mexico since my laptop crashed. So I got to get that fixed.
Yeah, that's
another
what you gotta
setback.
do, yeah.
But once that's done, then I'm back on track and back into the creative realms.
Let's go, guys. We're out here creating this content.
Check out Jackson on Instagram, a mystic artist.
And my YouTube channel if you really want to.
And his YouTube channel. I am Dean_Tucker on Instagram. We got the Intentional Creator YouTube channel if you are listening to this on Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, we also got a Spotify podcast with the same exact thing.
Share this with your friends. Share this with the other creators. Share this with people who you think would resonate with this. Or
ask us all the questions. Send us DMs. Send us comments. All of that kind of stuff. Let us know your questions. And yeah, I think we'll end it right there.
I think so too. Sounds good.
Good.
We could do a swipe wipe with her.
Yes, everything recorded. That's so great. And the audio is recording. What a day. For those of you staying for the bonus part, look at that sunset. Wow, the camera's skewed because it's on a tripod and I haven't balanced it properly with one hand, but look at that. And then we got a ton of people on the beach, some surfers out, spread out all across here. Beautiful beaches. We got a Jackson already on his phone.
Hey guys.
Oh. Just so bad. But that's it. That's it. That's the podcast. Bye everyone.